We're going to make it happen. We're just running a little bit late tonight. I do apologize for that, but we have things to talk about. Oh, yeah. Do it. Good times all around. It's so great good time. Bobby might not show up. It's the usual time. Yeah. Play it and live it. What's up, guys? You guys are awesome. Yeah, I was supposed to go live about half an hour ago, a little better. But basshead stuff. And there'll be a video coming up late. Uh, yeah, I'll start editing after the show. I just got done. But one of my buddies needed a 911 rescue on his system. And we did the best we could. If you notice, there's an amplifier missing back here on my board. That's because I put that in his car to get him going again. So there's that. Things happen, basshead life, and all that good stuff. So, how's everybody doing this fine evening? Speak now, forever hold your peace. We've been cracking jokes all night. Just having an absolute blast. Get some. Anybody want some Diet Coke? I got some in the fridge, man. I even got some chicken in the fridge and some pork chops. Man, pork chops sound good. My wife will make those Sunday, I think. So we've been. He had a Tar Amps. I think it was a Tar Amps 3K in there on a couple of hostile hairs in the house. What's up, man? On a couple of Rockford P3 12s in a tiny little box that isn't big enough for one of those 12s, and he's got two of them. And it's tuned at like, I don't know, in the moon, like 40 something hertz, probably higher. It's tuned real high. But he was having issues with the amp cutting off and all this stuff. And I figured out that he has a serious wiring problem. And you guys will see that in the video. But it turned out he has we fixed it mostly. Had an 8 gauge. Hey, get this shit, guys. This is really bad. He had 8 gauge CCA wire running from the front battery, which is weak, on a stock alternator, back to a 3,000 watt amplifier. Had an 8 gauge ground running from that amplifier, the same CCA garbage, to the body with he used the two screw. They used the 2 screw method, 1 screw to hold it down and 1 screw to keep it from spinning. Paint still there, everything. I don't know how the thing was even working at all. And they come to me because he wanted an amplifier, and I sold him an amplifier, cheap, real cheap. Basically got out of it what I had in it, but then that amplifier turned out not to be working properly, and I don't know why. But I replaced all the wiring, all of it, out of my stash. Just pull pieces out here and there. But I had some stash of CCA alt gauge wire, new concept CCA alt gauge, and I replaced it all with the alt gauge. Put a actual fuse back there by the amplifier, and it already had one in the front. So we got him safer, and also it'll be able to pull power. I redid the ground, put it on a bolt. We we depainted the area and got a good solid ground. So it's able to get power now. And we pulled that amplifier, and I put this Hyanka 1500 in there because the Sundown 1500, it was getting power. It's coming on. You could hear the speaker thump whenever it come on, but it wasn't getting a signal in for some reason. I thought it was the RCA's. Turned out it must be the RCA female on the amp that's bad. I do not know. I couldn't for the life of me figure that one out. Anyway, we got him up and bumping, so things are good. Let's see what's going on here in the chat now. Oh, what's going on in the chat? Arius says Slapz bang. Hell yeah, man. I do love my Slapz. Hostile hair, play it and live it. I was watching your video on the new Slapz sub. Awesome sub excursion. But something tells me I'm going for the 2 10Ks. 2 10Ks. For the 2 10Ks. What are we talking about? I'm confused. Am I missing something? Do I need to go over to the Slapz website and see when there's something that's jumped up that I don't know about? Because all I know about is 8Ks. I haven't heard anything. Okay. Yeah, no, there's 8Ks. There's Shock 8K. That's it. So I'm confused. Maybe the subs? I don't know. I mean, if we're talking about the Neos, and they're 8,000, they're 4,000 watt armor. So what are you talking about? You can, I know what you're talking about now. Oh, yes, you're right. That's what we're going to be doing. You're correct. I finally figured out what you're talking about. You're talking about batteries. Yeah, that's correct. I'm going to be doing 2 of the 10K. You're talking about the 10K Slapz amps I'm talking about. 10KS. I don't know about Slapz amps that are 10K, man. Is that something that I'm missing? Anyway, I am putting 2 of the Trunk Thunder Lithium 10K version 2s in the Tahoe. The version 2 and the version 3 are identical cells. The only real difference is the way the bus bars are made and the casing. The version 2s they were only out for a short time, so there's not a whole lot of them out there. There's a few. but a friend of mine on our team had actually bought two of them when he was still running the version twos, and he's got two, and I'm getting them from him tomorrow. And they're pretty cool. They look really cool, so I'm gonna put them in there. Uh, let's see here. Yay area said in the hospital. Oh man, that sucks, dude. Sorry to hear. Well, I guess it's good. I mean, if you're in the hospital, you know that something breaks, they can fix it. It's like living in a garage. You know, if the car messes up, you know, you're right there. They can just go ahead and fix it. Um, but it sucks being in the hospital, and it sucks having to be in the hospital. All that. So I'm trying to look. I'm trying to find the silver lining. So bear with me, okay? Oh, you get weighted on hand and foot. That's kind of cool. Um, you know, you can't flirt with the nurses or your wife gets mad. But well, my wife don't. She don't care. She just laughs. She knows it's just stupid. I'm just a stupid old man. But yeah, the hospital food's not too great. I will say this though: if you eating late at night, always ask for the tuna. Man, the tuna is always going to be the go-to sandwich late at night. It's it's just going to be the best tasting thing that you can find in the kitchen at late at night. So I always ask for the tuna. He said he's talking about the 10K Slapz amps. We don't have 10Ks, man. It's just 8. unless I'm missing something, and I'm pretty up to date. I must be losing my damn mind. Hmm. Oh, that's cool. He's selling the binding post. That is a new item. He keeps moving stuff around on a website trying to make things look nice. The Oblivion version ones are at $239. Um, with my discount code, that's another like $24 off. So that is a shade over $200 for the version ones. That's a really good buy. Oh, those are the new ones too. Oh no, they're not. We have got some new subs that are going to be coming. They're going to be lower on the totem pole than the other two. So heads up on that. They will be. I don't know when they're coming out, but it's a budget sub. That said, they're going to be rated at 1500 watts. They're not going to be junk. They're going to be good solid subs. But anyway, let's see here. Sorry again, yay area man. I'm sorry about the hospital thing. T. Corley, what's up, CAE? Unfortunately, I'm not at home. I'm out on the town. Just wanted to say hey, and how are you going to wake? Am I going to wake the dead? Man, I wish I could, but the amount of walking involved in that kind of an event is kind of prohibitive to me being able to do it. Um, I was hoping, I've been trying like hell and hoping I would have a scooter, a little mobility scooter available by that time, and I would be able to use that. But it's just now, we're probably going to, it's right on the line. We're probably going to get the scooter within the next couple of weeks. But um, so, yeah, it's not looking real good for the home team. Um, I'm hoping I have it available for finals. At least I might be able to go to finals. If I have a scooter, I'll go to finals. For me, being able to walk across the parking lot is a chore, and any place where I have to walk around a lot is just not it's not conducive to my body doing it. And so, yeah, it is what it is. Uh, he said they saved his life. Good food. Yeah, man. The food's in the hospital is not terrible. You just got to have which is the trick is, man. You got to get your wife to bring some Creole seasoning and some salt and pepper, in her purse and bring it in there so you can stash it in your room. That way you can Creole the hell out of everything. Because they won't let you have no salt, man. You got to get your own salt. And they don't put salt on hardly anything. The food's not bad. It's just very bland. And I'm always up at night. So whenever I was in the hospital, the last, I don't know how many times I've been in the hospital, a bunch of damn times. I learned that the tuna sandwich at night was the jam. I got the roast beef, and it was like it just wasn't great. I mean, it makes a turd and everything, but and I had some chicken, and that was okay. But the tuna though, the tuna was always on fire because it works real good right out of the refrigerator. Um, yeah, I'm doing better. Playing lips. I thought they made it. No, no problem, brother. Um, but yeah, I'm alive, man. I mean, I'm dealing with lots of medication and a never ending supply of medical problems, but that's what happens when you're old and broken. So there's that. We just keep going. I did get my little oxygen machine. I got an oxygen machine over there. And we had to buy that outright. But my issue is sometimes, maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks, or maybe once a month, something like that. My lungs will fill up with fluid while I'm asleep. And it's not a lot of fluid, but it's enough. And I wake up and I'll be just kind of breathing half breaths, and then I have to sit up there and try to cough that crap out of my chest, and so I can breathe. Well, it helps if I have an oxygen to put on. That way I have extra oxygen going in on those little breaths, and my brain don't get all swimmy and dizzy. It gets kind of scary. So I did manage to get us a machine though. So that's something that I can put on the cannula, and get the oxygen in my nose, and then I can cough the stuff up, and life can move on. But it is what it is. Chair Life 420. So my power wire was connected. So it was my power wire. It was connected through bit where jacked up. So we got it bumping again. Satisfied. So satisfied fixing my own setup. Is this Josh? Or am I confused? Because I don't know that I don't. Oh no, wait. 420. I remember seeing you last another show. So remind me what we were talking about, because it's been a while, and I'm not. I listen to so many different problems, and I try to solve so many problems that I get them all mixed up in my head. Like somebody will tell me about subs, and somebody else tell me about amplifiers, and somebody else tell me about this and that and the other. And before you know it, this is all one thing in my head. It's all one massive mess of stuff. And I'm constantly solving problems for myself and for other people. And that fogs my head up with stuff. So if I forget what something that you said, like the last week or something like that, even if you're someone that I see all the time, don't take it personal. I can't remember what I did. I can't remember what my wife said today. I don't. So yeah, it's old age and low oxygen, low blood flow in the brain. It's connected to all the rest of the problems. My memory is the one that bounces around. Fuse is good and no power on 1 amp. Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah, the funny thing is, man, when it comes to power wires on an amplifier, what you think is fine, right? When you're assessing the situation, you're looking at the wiring, you're looking at the connections, and you're looking at all the stuff. What you think is okay, and you look over it, a lot of times can be your problem. The two most common things that I see whenever I'm chasing amplifier issues. Okay, two most common problems that people will come to me with is no power, everything is fine, or the most common is the amp will cut off. It cuts off. It plays a little bit, then it cuts off, or it cuts on and off, or stuff like that. It cuts off really. It gets hot easy, and you don't get very loud. These are the things that I get, the problems I get. And the typical solutions for those, the first thing I check is the ground. And I mean the whole ground. The ground where it connects to the amplifier, the ground where it connects to whatever it's connecting to, and then how that ends up connecting back to the electrical system. So you got to check the ground under the hood going from the battery to the body or whatever. And then you got to chase that back to the ground coming out of the body going back. And you look at all over. Another common spot is, and usually it's where the ground is connected to the body is usually crap. Sometimes it's the ground connecting from the battery to the body that's crap. The second one is loose connections on the fuse going into the fuse block, the fuse, that connection being loose. It happens a lot with CCA because of the same person that'll buy a CCA power wire also tends to buy the little round fuses that the wire just goes in both ends and has a little set screw. Well, I want to tell you that little set screw and CCA wire are two enemies because CCA tends to degrade. The moisture gets to it and it starts to electrolyze and deplate itself. And when it does that, it loses mass. Its thickness, its girth goes down. Well, as its mass is going away, that little set screw loses the connection. And then you've got a bad connection going in or coming out of the fuse, or you didn't have the fuse tight, and so you got bad connections in the fuse. All of this stuff will eventually melt fuse holders. It's always a loose connection that melts a fuse holder. If you ever wonder why your fuse holder melted, it's because the connection with one of those wires at that fuse holder was loose. That will melt the fuse holder quicker than shit. It won't blow the fuse. The fuse isn't seeing enough amperage to blow, but it can still melt the whole thing down into a puddle and not blow the fuse. The fuse is only there to protect amperage. It doesn't stop loose connections and fires. Okay. That's the other most common one. Those the two. Then the less common ones is like where somebody's crimped a lug on, and that lug was badly crimped and it wasn't making a good connection, or the wire is ridiculously too small for the equipment. And basically today, I literally found pretty much all of those things with our project tonight. So that's how that goes down. Yeah, I pretty much found all of them. The only thing that was solid was the fuse by the battery was fine. It was hunky-dory. But literally every other problem was in that system. And it was pretty sad. And I knew what was going on when I opened it and looked under the hood. And I got to study it, and I was like, really? This is it? Oh, man. Tell me this ain't it. Yeah, it was. So then I go back to the back, and I look, and I was like, oh, my God, dude. Like, it was the worst case scenario. Just about the worst thing I've ever seen done. Not quite. I mean, I'm going to tell you, if you're going to run 10 gauge CCA, just don't do that. Just don't do that. Go get an extension cord and strip it down and use all the wires as power and run that, because that's going to give you way better current capacity than 10 gauge CCA. A freaking lamp cord is going to do a better job, because it's at least made out of copper, and that's the difference. Anyway. But my friend didn't know, and he bought the car. When he bought the car, it came with the power wire ran, and it came with a grounded, sort of. It was there, and it was connected to the body, and it made the amp turn on, so he didn't know. Then he put a 3,000 watt amp on it, and 2 P3 12s, and a tiny prefab box that's tuned really stupid high. But he didn't know any of that was wrong. So he just rolled with it, and I got him going down the right path now. So we sorted it. We sorted it, and that's what we. I looked at it last time he was here, helping with the other build, and I talked to him. But today I hadn't looked at. I didn't know about the power wire stuff until today, and I was like, oh man, this ain't good. He was getting another amplifier because his amplifier kept cutting off, but I know why it was cutting off because it was starving. And the connection where that 10 gauge wire was connected, or the 8 gauge wire was connected up front to the fuse, that connection, that heat shrink was charred around that connection. That wire had been getting stupid hot. So they had it fused for 250 amps, right? And that wire would not handle 250 amps at all, not even close. It would totally go into meltdown before it blew a 250 amp fuse. But he was, and then of course he's got the stock battery and the stock alternator, and the stock battery is not strong. I heard that whenever he started the vehicle, it's like, it had that. It started instantly because it's a fairly new car, but that turnover sounded really rough. So he had all the problems, and I got him on the right path, and I explained what was wrong and why it was wrong. I didn't talk bad about him. I don't talk about anybody. We all started out on Stupid Street. I mean, not everybody was living there at one time. We've all been there. And so I educated him as we were fixing things. And yeah, we sorted it, man. Let's see here. I see Corn Nuts in the house. What's up, Corn Nut? Yep, loose at the fuse box. Yep, that's how that works, dude. I mean, I just see it all the time. These are the problems I always run into. What causes the sub to pop when you turn the key on? It's called DC offset. So, out of your amplifier, well, there's a lot of things that can cause it, but it's essentially DC offset from somewhere. So, okay, the way you test it is you unhook your subwoofers from your amplifier and then turn the volume all the way down on the system so there's no sound. Should be no sound coming through. And then with the system turned on, the volume turned down on the stereo so there's no signal going in. Or you could just disconnect the RCAs, whatever works for you. And the amp turned on and powered on, you take a DC reading on your speaker outputs. Normally that's an AC section. It should always be doing this, right? But if you get a DC reading on it, like any real DC reading, what happens is it's called a DC offset. So while the signal will still be doing this, right, it will be pushed to one side a little bit. And so it'll be kind of doing this over here to this side. Instead of being in the middle of the road, it'll be kind of weaving, but mostly favoring one lane. That's DC offset, meaning it's offset from the center. And whenever you turn the system on, the subwoofer's sitting there and it's neutral, and all of a sudden that DC offset hits and it goes and moves. And that movement, moving over to that new neutral position, makes a sound. That can also cause you to clip center. To be honest, though, most amplifiers have some DC offset. It's just whenever it gets to be a lot that it turns into a problem. Basically, the reading that you want to get, if the world is perfect, is 0. You should get 0 DC from those terminals when you do that test. Jason, that's what's happened to the power wire. Exactly. Yeah. It happens, brother. Like I said, you just start to learn. You learn things just stick, you know. John Smith, welcome. For a newbie, what should I do for a 3,000-watt system? I want pre-built lithium, but maybe a super cap instead. Honestly, dude, the cheapest and most effective way to solve that problem is with a small lithium bank, and that's the solution you're looking for. A 3,000-watt system, you could run the Big Jeff lithium battery for that. It would do that job. I think it runs around $300. But I would recommend, if possible, getting the 5K version 2 or version 3, the 5K version, the newest 5K version. I think it's version 2 from Trunked Under Lithium. It's going to be more than twice as much power as you actually need, but where you're going to pay about $300 for the smaller battery from Big Jeff, you're going to get that one for about $500. So it's less than half. It's less than twice the price, and you're going to get more than twice the power. So, and odds are you're going to be going bigger at some point, and it only makes sense to go with a battery that's big enough to support a lot more power than you're actually going to use for future upgrades. You'll thank me for that spending advice later. If you do decide to go with Trunked Under Lithium, use discount code CAE10. If you decide to go with Big Jeff, then use discount code CAE. I don't know what that saves exactly, but it will save you some money off of the purchase at Big Jeff. And it's a good battery. It's just, I mean, you get more than twice the battery for less than twice the price with Trunked Under Lithium. So if you only need this much and you've only got this much, then I get it. But buying bulk always saves you money, and this case is no different. Let's see here. Corn nuts. The corn nuts in the house. CCA turns to powder up here in Oregon. Yeah, it turns to power anywhere where there's salt water anywhere close to you. In fact, it turns to powder pretty much everywhere except the Midwest. It's kind of safer here, but you're still going to get some degradation. That's why I just don't like using it. I won't install it if people bring it to me for their install. Buy some OFC from me or let somebody else attach their name to it. I feel you, brother. I just so happened to have 2 pieces of CCA alt gauge that I'd gotten ordered by mistake from New Concepts. And I had put a bunch of stuff in my cart, and I completely skipped over the fact that it was CCA. So I had these 2 big old pieces of it forever. So I didn't want to put it in anything. But tonight, my boy had that horrible stuff in there. So I used a chunk of that to run his run from the front to back. Is CCA, but I told him he needs to replace it in the future. But it's sufficient for the power he's pulling. I mean, he's running a 1500 watt amp. That'll handle the power. The only real problem is, of course, that over time it degrades, and so I clamped all of the lugs on it, so it's got clamped on lugs and an A&L fuse holder. Everything should be solid. It'll work, but it was a big upgrade from that 8 gauge spaghetti wire that was running. Man, that was so bad. But he's very happy. He's ecstatic. So I'm all happy. He's happy. I'm happy. But I didn't have any. I was looking for some OFC. I've got some put aside, but I've got a thing that I'm about to do with it in my Tahoe. So I couldn't really give him any until I know what I need exactly. And the only piece I had that was long enough to do the job was that stuff. So I don't run a shop, Um, maybe I should. I'm just here to thumbs up all the videos and streams. Awesome. I appreciate it, bro. Almost forgot. Also, to clown on Recoil Daily for introducing the 1500 watt sub to use for us bass heads. Yeah, no kidding, dude. $1,500 sub. That was so stupid. I still don't understand why they even thought that was going to work. I see many, and people run interior fuse holders outside for underhood use. Oh, of course they do. Hey, we're bass heads, man. We don't have no brains. What the hell you think? um, I always recommend a sealed up fuse holder and a waterproof. Yeah, especially if you're going to run CCA, you can't get it wet, man. It's like a gremlin. You don't get them wet. You don't feed them after midnight, or else they do gremlin things, which is exactly what happened today. But yeah, the interior fuse holder he's talking about would be the standard issue A&L fuse holder with 2 bolts and a flat piece, and the fuse goes on it. That is what I would consider an interior fuse holder. And yeah, people do run them under the hood. But if you're using copper wire and copper lugs, you can get away with that. You still need to keep an eye on it because copper does degrade too. It's just a lot slower. So you got to keep an eye on it. You got to make sure you're checking your connections and all that kind of stuff. But you can get away with it. You just don't want to put CCA in those circumstances. And you also want to use marine heat shrink. So the marine rated heat shrink with the thick ass glue on the inside, when you heat that stuff up with your heat gun, you should see that clear glue come out of both ends, all the way around the edge of that heat shrink. If you're not seeing that, that's not marine grade heat shrink. And that makes a difference. And you also should use tinned copper lugs for anything that's going to go outside and be in the weather. I don't mostly, but you should. If you run 10 copper lugs and marine rated heat shrink on good wire, good copper wire, and an A&L fuse, and you check make sure you're using lock washers and all that stuff, then you can get away with it. But there's a lot of caveats. And I agree with you, man. It's not good practice, especially for a shop. For a shop, you'd never do that. You could do it on your own, but you would never do it for a shop. Recoil corn nut. Man, I'm not going to dump on Recoil as a brand. I just ain't, because they have some cool shit. There's a large group of stuff that Recoil does that's very worthy. But they're trying to dip their hand into something that they don't belong in. Deep. Alcatraz said, we all got to start somewhere. Absolutely, man. We've been there and done that, and all the stupid. Hell, I'll find some more stupid shit to do. I'm steadily learning about my stupid. My stupid's just it's a staircase. You're steadily climbing it. You put something behind you, but there's always more to learn as you go. So I don't dump on nobody. But what always gets me is whenever I hear the problem and I go to look for the cause of the problem, and it is exactly what I thought it was going to be, and I'm like, because it's not like this guy hasn't never made this mistake before. He didn't know, right? But to me, it's like, oh my God, it's the same thing every time, and it's like you kind of throw up in your mouth a little bit, and so yeah, and I'm trying to be nice and say, well, anybody can. But in my mind, I'm thinking, God damn, how many of these things have I fixed for the same exact problem? But we all learn. I try to keep it. I try to, not talk smack, because it doesn't deserve it. The people don't deserve it. They don't know. But in my mind, I'm like, man, again, smells like burning plastic. Yeah. I don't have a sense of smell anymore. Guys, I have no smell. Like, occasionally when I'm cooking something, I get the faintest hints of things, But for the most part, I could put my head in a bucket of shit and I wouldn't know it was in a bucket of shit. I wouldn't smell it. Like I can stick, freaking onions up my nose and it don't bother me. I mean, I can't smell coffee right up my nose. I can't smell it. I can't smell it. None. It's so many things I can't smell at all. So I don't have that. And I'm going to tell you, you really miss that when you lose it. Um, what's that? ING said, my high output alternator goes crazy every 2 years. Anyone have issues after a couple of years with yours? That'd be your voltage regulator, most likely, man. You live on the coast. That's if you live on the coast and you may be getting some corrosion going on in your voltage regulator. Way you can get around that is to buy an unregulated alternator and buy an external regulator. And that's for anybody going into this shit hard, going hard on bass. It's really the best choice to buy an unregulated alternator and then buy an external regulator with an adjustment on it. That's the best choice for anybody that's planning on going hard on bass, because you may think you want one voltage now and that you'll never want to change it. But I'll assure you at some point you will want to change that voltage, and then you're kind of stuck and you have to use the diode trick and all that nonsense. And then you got to deal with those internal regulated. You can change the thing to be externally regulated, but that requires a little bit of alternator surgery. So, but yeah, that's probably what it is. It's almost guaranteed. It's really the only thing that typically goes wrong in an alternator is that regulator, or part of that regulator. Jason, here the amp is either turning on too soon or there's a problem. Oh, he's talking about the pop. Or there's a problem with the amp. Make sure the head unit is turning on the amp, or get a Metra turn on or on delay module. Or if you've got a DSP, most DSPs have a turn on circuit in them that delays them. So that'll help. And yeah, there can be a pop from that, but that's a way to fix the pop, because you're not, like, for example, if you turn on the signal first and then the amplifier turns on afterwards, it doesn't make the pop. The amplifier would still have the offset, but it wouldn't necessarily make the pop. So you can kind of mask the problem that way. And just because it has a DC offset and it pops doesn't mean anything really bad. It will definitely cause it to clip earlier than it normally would have. Having said that, it's a very tiny amount that it affects, because, like I said, it's not centered in the road no more. So if you're pushed over to this direction, this side is going to clip a little bit before this side over here will. You normally would be in the middle, and so they would both be able to do the whole thing, right? If you can do the whole thing without cutting it off, then you're good. But when you move the center point over one bit, you screw that up. And that's exactly what it is. It's just a DC offset. But yeah, delay modules, you can get those pretty cheap. Little turn on delay modules, they're like, I don't know, they're not expensive. And you can do sequence. It's a turn on sequencer or something like that. You can set everything to turn on at different times. You can set the amount of time it takes before it turns on. Or you can just run a DSP and let it turn on everything. But I did find out, although you can get a little bit of power out of a turn on wire, and amps don't require very much power to turn on, but I also run my RGBs off of that. So I have my turn on wire going to a relay, which turns on everything. So it's turning it on, it's then going to a relay, and I'm using the relay to turn everything on and also power my lights. If I wasn't running the RGB lights, the turn on wire out of that DSP could turn on 20 amplifiers. But if you add one set of RGBs to it, you're putting a lot of stress on that circuit. RGBs don't take a lot of power, but they do take some. Hell, that relay takes like a third of an amp or something like that. It's quite a bit of power. Whereas an amplifier may only take like zero point 0.5, zero point 0.05 of an amp. It's not much, man. Like I said, it takes turning on one relay is the equivalent of turning on like 10 amplifiers. So yeah, something to that effect. I don't remember exactly. I remember when I started, I was using CCA. The wire burned out. The wire burned out, becoming arc at aches at the connection. Almost burned my car down. Yep, that connection. Remember, I said the connection is where the problem is. I had to change it out to 0 gauge copper. Absolutely. With CCA, it's always at the connection. That's because of the wire. It's the way it works. It degrades and then the connection gets loose, and then that creates a short, or that creates a weak connection, which creates more heat. And it means that the connection is loose, which means it can get in more of what caused it to get loose. It just snowballs into death spiral. Let's see here. Oh, what's up, man? G-Body Spanky Reloaded. Have no idea, but welcome. I don't know. I never know when somebody's going to pop on, and I don't know your name on YouTube, so I have no idea who you are until you tell me who you are. Yeah. Was wondering how many banger 10Ks I need for 20,000 watts with a 400 amp alternator. I would run 2. That's what I'm going to be running on my 16,000 watt setup. 1 would do the job for about, one, actually, I'm playing on 1 right now. So technically 1 will handle that 16,000 watts with high output alternator. And I'm only running 1 alternator on my currently on my audio side. And it keeps up, but it struggles a little bit. So anything over about 12K, 13K, real power, I would suggest going with 2. So 20K, I would definitely suggest you do 2. 1 will work for a little while. You might be surprised how effective 1 will be, but it's not going to keep up with 2,000 amps. You're going to need 2 of them. Let's see here. Arthur Hugelet. What's your opinion on sub boxes tuned really low? That's how I tune sub boxes. I tune them low. Thinking of picking up one that's tuned to 21 hertz, 4 cubic feet for 115. Sounds like a dream come true, my friend. It's for home theater, but how much bandwidth will I miss? You're not. That's the thing. Like I said, we learn constantly. If you stop learning, you're probably dead, because everything. Okay, so here's the thing. With a ported subwoofer box, standard issue ported subwoofer box, people want the ports to be tuned to the frequency that they play the music because it boosts that frequency range. And you end up with a hump and then kind of a roll off like that. That hump. They put that hump right where they want the boost. For SQ, okay, where subwoofers tend to fall apart is in the low frequencies. When I say lows, I mean down below 25 hertz, 30 hertz, somewhere in that range. Everything below that, the roll off becomes a significant thing for a sealed enclosure. And if you're porting it like 35 hertz, which is kind of normal, it still does it. You're still having that. You're going to have a boost at 35, but it's just going to fall. So my opinion is if you tune low enough, then you can carry that shelf over. And instead of using that port to boost that frequency that you're playing, you're using the port to keep it from the subwoofer to extend the bass shelf lower so that you get a nice kind of a flat response curve. So there's more than one way to use a port. A port's just going to boost the frequency. So if your sub is playing, as long as it's playing the frequencies that are above the port tuning, it'll continue to do that like it always did. You're just not going to get a boost at that frequency. So by dragging that frequency down to that 20-ish hertz range, you're going to extend your bass shelf down into the tens. 10, 12 hertz will still be playing and coming through that port. You'll create a flatter, more sound quality response, which is exactly what you want in the theater. So, yeah, I'm totally down with that. Sounds awesome. Alcatraz, I have a single 12 on a 20 hertz box. And but I will say, like I said, this is more of an SQ mindset, not a SPL mindset. For SPL, you want to do a bunch of stuff. You basically, to get maximum sound pressure out of a car, you want to take everything that a SQ guy does and do the opposite. Exactly the opposite. You want to find the car's peak, what tune it is, what frequency is. It'll be pretty high. It'll be like 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 hertz, some crazy shit like that. You find the car's peak with a sealed enclosure, and then you find a sub that plays that frequency really well. You build a box to make that to peak that frequency, and you tune the port right at that frequency so that the thing is going bananas at that frequency and the whole car is getting high pressure. However, this, when you play music through it, sounds like total and complete shit. Okay. On the opposite side of the spectrum, an SQ guy is going to spread those things out as much as possible to create the flattest curve with no peaks, because you want the response to be linear across the range of bass. This is how I tune. I tune this way. Even though I try to put up some numbers, I do push myself into that bracket because I like sound quality. I want to be able to play good music and enjoy it, as well as, shake the world. So yeah, that's the difference between an SPL car and an SQL car. That's really the difference, is how you apply those boosts. Arthur said, "Can you hit high 30s?" Oh God, dude. Yeah, I'm very my peak in my Tahoe is a 44, and I can get close to that peak at like 22. So yeah, I've got a stupid high range. I've got the DSP got the subs rolled off at like 80 hertz, and they'll play way up into that, and they'll ring your friggin' bell up in those high notes. So yeah, it plays no problem. If you're talking about me. And yeah, 44 hertz. Yeah. That's where my peak is. Oh, you're talking about Alcatraz. I got you. Yeah, exactly. All right. So Alcatraz said, get a little windy, but I would not tune that low with a single sub again. It lacks the cone area to be that low without that bump. Yep. Exactly. Low hertz, deeper bass. I guess that's what he's saying. I'm just going through and see what else is going on. Dubby said Sony Explode, best audio gear on a budget. And the show now, it's sorted. Hell yeah, man. Go Sony Explode. Going in a box that had a 12 JC power sub. What am I going to do back here, guys? I got to put another amp back there. I got to stick something back there. I don't have to. I mean, I could run the sub off of that 4-channel. The problem with 20 hertz box is I have to play rebase music that hits low to really make use of it. Man, all I play in my Tahoe is rebase music. That's all I play, dude. That's all I play, period. No, I take that back. I do play some occasional old school yacht rock and stuff when I'm just riding around chilling. But it does that anyway. That's the thing. If I'm trying to crank the snot out of it, I'm playing rebase music. If I'm not playing rebase music, it's not getting the snot cranked out of it. So everything works, you know. Yeah, sure. You can use anything for a remote wire. All you're sending over that's like a tiniest. Think about it like this: that USB cable that you plug your phone into to charge it is like, I don't even know, dude. It's like the wire in there is tiny, right? I mean, it's tiny. It's I don't even know, 30 gauge or something. And that thing pulls between an amp and a half and 2.5 amps. And depending on, you know, which phone you have and what charger you have, it's fine. It's totally fine. The only thing I don't like about using super thin remote wire is it tends to break easy. So I don't want my remote wire to break. So I usually run some fairly chunky remote wire because I don't want to have to worry about it getting broken someplace. That would just piss me off. But that's just me personally. And that's my reason, my personal reason. Red Pill said, you reminded me of Phoebe Gates with the Gremlins. Hell yeah. River Rebase said, since when I use speaker wire to power my amp, it smokes. Yeah, it would. Ported on both sides. WW. Bobby's in the house. He did make it. That's interesting. I don't know. I haven't ever dealt with the personnel behind them, so that can really kill it for me too. So I understand. I will stop. I will totally shut down a whole brand over bad personnel, or personal relations with personnel. I'll be done with them. That's the one place where a brand becomes important. Most of the time, it's gear for me. I look at specs and gear, not the brand. But the one place where the brand becomes important is the people I'm dealing with, because they are the brand. And, you know, so if they could have wonderful gear, but if the brand sucks, then I'll dodge them just because, you know, screw them guys. I'm going home. So I feel you. I haven't had any interactions at all with Recoil, so I can't speak on that. Franco Quaid. Yes, I did. The US amps, US made US amps, that are still using parts made in China because that's how that all works. And they are really expensive. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're going to be some solid ass amps. 100%. I guarantee you they're going to be wicked good amps. But they're talking crazy numbers for those amps. And I just don't have that kind of money. So, you know, aluminum wire is CCA technically. Oh, you're talking about like a drop cable? It still breaks down, but what kills CCA is the fact that the aluminum degrades, and then the plating, that cladding comes off and degrades as well. And those are all issues. And when you have two different metals, if you know anything about electrolysis or metallurgy when you take two different metals and you add salt water, and then you run electricity through those metals, you cause electrolysis, which means one metal will. It's how you do all kinds of stuff. It's how you electroplate stuff. You use a sacrificial metal, the softer metal, and you use a noble metal of some sort, and then you move the metal from one to the other, and that's what plates it. That same process, that galvanic, I think it's the right word, process is what happens to the copper clad aluminum. It gets the salt water, it gets the wet, it gets the electricity, it's got the multiple metals, and that's where the problems start to go. The aluminum sacrifices itself to the metal bolts and steel and other components that are harder than it. And it degrades and turns into a goopy, powdery mess. So using a solid copper wire is going to degrade much, much, much slower, or a solid aluminum wire, much slower. So yeah, a drop cable, if you can, figure out a way to insulate it, it'll work fine. It still has the issue with voltage drop. It's still going to have more resistance in it than copper. So you're still going to lose power over the distance more than you will with copper. But as far as holding up, the solid aluminum chunks that are really big, strands in that drop cable are much, much, much harder. So they're going to hold up a lot longer. So yeah, it's just not insulated. So, and it's also unbelievably stiff. It'd be like trying to run a sword through the car. You could stab somebody with a piece of that stuff. It don't bend. It's really stiff. I don't know. I was in a different point in my I don't even know where I was talking about when you said that. So I'm confused. I'll leave it open. Bobby said was supposed to get my Sky High wire today, but didn't show. Check it out, guys. Let me show you. See my shirt? Yeah, see that? Wait, it's over here. I'm not married. Slapz audio, baby. He hooked me up. Got me a couple of 3Xs. These are nice shirts too, man. They're nice and dark, I like dark shirts. I'm a messy white boy. I get stuff all over myself. So them light colored shirts they always look like shit within no time. And I like to sit everything on my belly. You guys do that? Like, no matter what you're working on, it gets propped right there. So at the end of the day, you're looking at your shirt and you got this dirty spot right on top of your belly. Or am I the only one that does that? I have no idea how often I set crap on my belly. Steers, how much does it go for? I'm not sure what you're talking about. I'm sorry. You'll have to clear it up. Mention the what you're talking about and your question together, and I'll catch on to it because I'm, like I said. Oh, I got you. Okay. G-Body, what's up, man? I don't know. He probably went over to that whatchamacallit website. I can't think of the name of it right now. Sky High. Okay. He went to Sky High. So Bobby said he needed 6 feet of alt gauge, $40, 5 feet, for 5 feet, and of 4 gauge, $13. Okay, I got you. So 6 feet of alt gauge, $40, 5 feet of 4 gauge, $13. Yeah, that's actually a little bit high, but not too bad. Freaking copper wire right now is so crazy expensive. Debbie said I use the lamp cord. Grandma, lamp cord. Grandma, why my light won't come on? Why I keep pulling the string and the light don't come on? Christopher, come on in here, Christopher. Pet the puppy, Christopher. Pet the puppy. Guys, y'all would have loved hearing our banner today. We was cracking. Everybody was cracking up. We were having fun. It was good stuff. Pet the puppy, Christopher. Want some ice cream? I had Chair Life for 20. I had Chef Life said I had 312 JLs. They didn't over me that extra alternator. They didn't over me that extra alternator. I have no idea what you're saying. Sometimes your fingers just don't do what your brain says, right? I don't know. Let's see here. Bobby. Yeah. Y'all are still going. Triumph's 30K. Never complains about never complains. The more fire, the better. The amp runs. There you go. Fire is good. If it's I haven't eaten anything today, y'all. I just realized that. I have not eaten a single thing today. I'm going to tear something up here in a little bit. Let's see here. Oh, you live fairly close. Yeah, that's right. Bobby B. I'm trying to see what I'm putting in my Tahoe. Oh, yeah. We do nasty things to Tahoes, man. There's so many options, you know. It really is. You can do, if you've got the 3 rows, you can do a box in the 3rd row that's got like a kind of like an oversized pickup truck box kind of a thing. You could do that. You could do just replace the sub that's already there. You could do the JL, and a few other companies make stealth boxes that can go in there and like bolt into place and look factory. Or you can toll the 3rd row and put 412s in there, or 215s or 218s behind that 2nd row. Or you can pull the 2nd and 3rd row and put a whole lot of stuff back there. Or you can build a C pillar or a B pillar like I did. There's lots of different ways you can go. It just depends on how much space and what space you're willing to sacrifice and how much bass you want. And all those things are variables, and there's a lot of them. Yeah, you typically save money doing that. And so that's always a good plan. Dale Beck eats his hot dog sideways, though. Come on in here, Christopher. Pet that puppy. Pet the puppy, Christopher. Pet him, make him smile. Make him smile. Oh. Alcatraz said a 4-gauge aluminum cable is only $1.5 a foot. So that's cheap. As long as you don't mix copper with aluminum, it shouldn't corrode. See, but you need to buy twice as much of it. That's still cheap, man. I mean, I get it, dude. But you're going to run aluminum lugs, you know? Are you going to run aluminum bolts? Are you going to run? You got to switch somewhere, and that's kind of the problem, you know. And if you live close to the coast, you absolutely it's just gonna go away. I mean, I get it, dude. The shit's expensive as hell, man. You know, it's expensive. Copper's expensive shit. But which would you rather do? Pay a little more for the wire or buy a new vehicle when it burns up? You know what I'm saying? I mean, or you meant to buy it 2 or 3 times. Chasing problems. Just weird shit happens, man. You can get it. Some people get away with it. Guys run big systems on aluminum wire. I've seen it, but I don't know, man. I'm allergic to that shit. I'm allergic to it. But yeah, I get it. I understand. Now I've been there. Um, Doing car audio in the house. I had mine hooked up before years ago. Yeah, see, right now my little rack is kind of lonely. See, I'm missing the amplifier that goes right there because it's in the back of Josh's car. But we'll get it straightened out. We'll square it away. We'll get it worked out. I have I'd whole lot rather help out friends and other bass heads and try to sort them out and get them working than worry about this because I got plenty of stuff I can put up there. Um, I just yeah, I just try to help people, man. I try to treat people the way that I'm treated, the way I want to be treated. And I've had some really good people do wonderful things for me out of the blue on the channel. The patrons of mine and members have sent me stuff and things, and so I don't have a problem passing those things on to other people, and that's what I do. It's just how I roll. It doesn't make great financial sense, but you know that doesn't mean shit to me. It really don't. Um, I don't. Money is worthless until you spend it on something, and um, I don't. I value people much, 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 much higher than all this crap that I have. This stuff that I have is just crap, you know. But the people in my world are far, far, far more important than that. And it takes a long time to realize how little the crap that you think you need so much of means, and how much more important it is to maintain good relationships with your people. Because when you're laying on your deathbed, that $100,000 car you got don't mean jack shit to you. It's a freaking chunk of metal and plastic and rubber sitting out somewhere. The people that are standing there holding your hand when you're taking your last breath, that means everything. And the time to get those priorities right in your head is before you get to that point. Just saying. This is the type of shit that I think about as an old man. It is what it is, man. I'm surrounded by a bunch of crap that I can't take with me, and it won't matter, you know. So, anyway, I've been going on that road long enough. G-Body's Spanky Reloaded. Hell of a long name. Welcome. Gary, what's your opinion on the Timpano TPT 3500 series? Can't speak on that. Legit. I would only be able to speak on Timpano as a company a little bit, but very little. And it's mostly hearsay. Not bad. But I have no idea what this subwoofer is about. So I'm sorry. I'm not the person to ask them that. I'm sure it's great. But again, I'd just be hyperbole. It's just me, you know. Yeah. Sorry. Um, Chef said if I put a 10 in a 12 box, sense it 412. No, actually, you're going to sacrifice lows by doing that. And if you put I see what you're saying. No, you're 10 in a 12 box. Maybe. Okay, I had it backwards in my head. Maybe, not always. It can, but yeah, it should be deeper. It should be. It's how much is the debatable thing, and also you have the air. You're going to go into it. You're going to move away from this to this area where it should be jamming pretty hard. But if you move a little too far this way, then you lose con control and bottom out subs and stuff. So end up with too big of a box. That will probably work. Just be careful that you don't overextend your subwoofer playing lows. Hostile hair. Metro delay module. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good unit. There's a bunch of them that do that. There's a lot of them. A lot of companies make them or sell them. They're made by the same people. Yep. Some amps do. Oh, yeah. I could. Franco Quaid said, put Darth Vader behind me. Darth Vader is a 5-channel, man. Not really his job to do this. I could, though. I mean, he's sitting on the shelf over there just breathing, Luke, think deep thoughts. Pet the puppy. Let's see. I was wondering where the easiest place to sell my subwoofer box. Facebook Marketplace. That's where you do that. That's the best place to sell anything, dude. Just be ready to get a whole lot of fucking low ball offers real fast. It'll drive you crazy. Yeah, you're going to probably sell it on Marketplace, though. I'm reading, I read W's comment. I'm so bad. I have to put it in, I have to post in quite a bit of places. I don't know if I have a good price. Yeah, just usually I start out at about half of the cost of an item. And that usually is a ballpark. And then don't want to take any less than like 25% of what you got in it. So somewhere between 30% of the cost and half the cost is typically where you're going to sell stuff at. Sometimes you might get lucky and, get better than that, but that's kind of where you can figure. Let's see here. Play it and live it. If it's fire, it's higher. W wants to buy it. He's like, so he said, what you got? Let's see here. He said, I got a Phi MT12 and a 5 cubic foot box tuned to 29 hertz. 3 baffles with bracing. That's a nasty setup, man. That sounds like a really, really good hitting setup. I mean, damn. Yeah, that's a freaking low-end monster. The only thing it's missing is it's not an 18. I really want 18s, man. I'm very, very happy with my 15s. Don't get me wrong. They're slamming and they're playing nasty low. But if Slapz ever releases the Oblivion 15s or 18s, I will be building a new wall. Guaranteed it will happen. I can't put them in. I wouldn't be able to put them in the current setup, but I will be building a new one because I like the cones. I like big cones, and I cannot lie. Let's see here. Dubby said, people always praising me about my setup. Sure, they say it's fire, not because of the flames. Right? Oh, dude, I get it a lot, man. It always makes me feel good. And usually people that don't have a clue what they're looking at are the ones that are really impressed, which is the funny thing. And I'm aware of that. I'm no fool. I know exactly how that works. He walks up and the only thing he's ever seen is a car radio and a car battery. And he's looking at my setup going, I have no idea what I'm looking at, but it looks cool. And that's great, man. I love it. I love the honesty of it. Let's see here. So G-Body Spanky said, I want to go 415s in the Tahoe. I took the third seat out. Yeah, you can do that. That's going to be tight though. If you want to keep the wall, if you want to keep it below window, like below your window, that's really not going to happen. 415s won't work in that airspace. 218s, that might work. 412s will work, but it takes up all of that space behind the second row. So behind the second row, you just, unless you're going to build a box that comes up into the window some, you're not going to have enough airspace. I mean, I can tell you, a box for 415s in a Tahoe comes all the way up past the back of the seat, the second row seat, up into about, it'll come up into about, I just built one. So it comes up to about 6 or 8 inches into where your body would be sitting if you were sitting in that second row. So, part of the way into the door opening. I know because I literally just built one in a Cadillac version of a Tahoe, and it slams. He's only running 8,000 watts on it with the Oblivion version ones. The ones that came out of my Tahoe are in his Tahoe. He's running an 8K. He could be running a Slapz 8K, but he's running a Sundown Full Bridge 8K, which is basically the same board. He didn't pay full price for it, or if he had bought it new, he would have bought a Slapz amp. He got that. He got a song. Got that deal. That amp for a song. So that's good. But yeah, it's a big ass box, dude. It's a really big box. You could run 412s. You could probably run 218s back there. That would be tight. Let me think if I can remember. I think my box that I built below the window line, behind the second row, I want to say it was like around 2 cubic feet. So it was around 8. It was around 8.5 or 9 cubic feet in that box. And the Slapz Oblivion version ones need 3.25 ish. So you're only looking at, 3 of them or two and some change. It's just not enough airspace. And the 18s probably going to require about 4 to 5, something like that. So yeah, you could probably get away with 2 18s, but I would do 4 12s if I was going that route, that's exactly what I did. The 4 12s is going to suit you better. Dubby said the Timpano amp test Big D did was interesting. Bit of fire. Yeah, well, sometimes things just get a little hot, and sometimes you got to let all that magic smoke out. I mean, if there's too much magic smoke in your shit, it's not going to behave properly. It's not going to pet the puppy. Put stuffing inside. Stuffing. Oh shit! Where'd I go? There we go. Stuffing the box actually makes the subwoofer think it's bigger. You want to know how that works? Imagine this. So if you had to walk a half a mile and you're walking down the highway, right? It would take you a set amount of time. Now let's say you're going to walk that same half a mile, but you're walking through extremely dense woods. You're having to dodge brush, go over things and around things. It would take you significantly longer to walk that half a mile, even if you're putting in the same amount of effort both times. That's what happens. When you put stuffing in a box, is you create an obstacle for the sound waves. And so it slows the passage down. And so the sound wave takes longer before it bounces and comes back. And so the box to the subwoofer seems bigger because it's surrounded by woods instead of highways. That's how that works. It's not, it plays a trick on you. It's not about You're not losing airspace. You're actually taking up some of the airspace, but you're slowing down the sine waves. You're slowing down the pressure waves coming off the back of the driver. So the box seems bigger to the sub to an extent. It doesn't work completely though, because you're still pressurizing that smaller chamber. So it's still going to not react as good as it would a larger chamber, but it will help it some. W says, CAE, where the hell do you get those adjustable stripper poles for the car? And what the hell are they called also? Well, most of the time, guys are using turnbuckles. You can thread. They make them. You can buy them from some places, I think, but you can make them. So you just get, for example, a piece of all thread and a nut that fits on the all thread, and then a piece of pipe with a square plate, and you weld the square pipe to the plate, or the pipe to the square plate, and you weld the nut on the end of the pipe, and you screw the all thread in the nut. Adjustable pole. And if you want to be super adjustable, like you just use a turnbuckle style thing. So you need a bolt that has threads that go one way until a certain point, and then change and go the other way. And you put a reverse thread nut on the other end, and then you can wonka the thing. But to build a basic adjustable pole, you just all thread, nut, pipe, plate, weld it all together. But if you want to buy something like that, you can look into shipping load holders for big trucks. They've got a bunch of different types of load poles and load holders. We used to use them all the time. They have some that are more suitable for the environment that we put them in, and there's some that are less suitable. But they have some that are short that can collapse down short. So what you would look for is like load control or load holding or load binding stuff for shipping companies. That'd be a good start. Hopefully that was helpful. G-Body said, I'm going to go that route. I got you. I'm so bad. What's up, man? Right now, I have it posted for $825. I spent $850. Yeah. You're not going to get out of it close to what you got in it, bro. It just doesn't work that way. More power to you if you do. I hope you do, but I spent $850 on a sub, around $400 to $500 on a box. So, okay. Oh, no. I see now. Yeah, you're about right. Okay. So you got the, yeah. Okay. My bad. So yeah, you're about half price. Okay. Okay. Yeah. A box you can typically get, like I said, about half. Like if you can expect to sell a 500 box for 200 to 300 in that range, depending on who wants it, how bad they want it. If it's something that's perfect for them, then they might be a little willing to pay a little more, but usually about half price. Okay. I misread that. Old man brain. I seen y'all struggling with it. Yeah, no shit, dude. That box is big, dude. That's a heavy box. If you can afford to do it, man, build the damn thing out of plywood. That MDF is so heavy. So heavy. I'm not a fan of MDF. I will say this, though. Whenever you're doing something where you're going to be sanding it a lot, shaping it, that MDF is pretty fabulous for that stuff. It's like working with like Ren Shape. I don't know if you guys know what Ren Shape is, but it's kind of like particle board. It's not the same. It's much lighter. It's also expensive. But that stuff is really, a lot of modelers use it in movies and special effects, and all that kind of stuff. It carves real easy, shapes real easy, but it's expensive. Well, it's similar to working with that in that you can carve and sand and curve and contour stuff. So it has some advantages. It doesn't have that funky plywood edge. That's an advantage, but it also doesn't take stain like at all. Uh, and so you have to there's different stuff, but yeah, I'd rather work with plywood any day than MDF for the most part. Is it's just so much lighter. Uh, G body. It's got two of my Timpano 8000.1 bass amps. Hopefully those rock out, man. Hopefully, we'll see. What's the price on those? The Timpano 8K 8000.1s. What'd you pay, or what's the price? I don't know. You may have got a special deal or something. I'm curious. Because right now, the Slapz Audio Shock 8Ks are $359. And I know they do their power, and I know they're solid. So unless you got it for a better deal than that, and of course that 350, you're gonna take another $36 off that. So with my discount code CAE, it slaps audio. So you'll be down a little over $300. So I'm wondering if you actually got a better deal than that. Oh man, it has been a long night. We got out there and started on that rebuild earlier, and I've got about 6 hours of editing to do on a 15-minute video. That's how it works. Hey guys, y'all want to see what I worked on earlier today? I don't know if y'all are watching, you've probably already seen it. It's got a few views. Let's see. Yeah, see, I thought you paid a little more. See, you wasn't paying attention. Hopefully they do you well, though, man. I mean, we all got to do what we got to do, and I understand that. But I would stack these Shock 8Ks up against any 8,000 watt amp, anybody's 8,000 watt amp at any price. No shit. I know that in the high 3 ohm, like 3.5, 3.7, 3.8 ohms of box rise, they're still making right at 5,000 watts. I know this because I've seen it myself. They do their power, and they do well above their power. And I have yet to have one shut off on me. And I demo all day in the middle of the summer and sitting in a parking lot idling in the sun at 100-degree weather, 100+ degree weather. And I go full send for hours with no external fans yet. And I have yet to have one turn off on me. They just keep giving. They're really solid amplifiers. Hostile said, I enjoyed the show as always. Got to go. Keep banging. Son, we're glad you were here, and you will be missed. And by the way, guys, if you know Garrett Cudson, a.k.a. PSE Mentalist, he is back in the hospital in Kansas City. So y'all need to shoot him out a message. Some well wishes, show some love, because he's a good dude. He's a good guy. I enjoy him, and he's very nice to the community. He's a wonderful, big-hearted person. So y'all show some love to him. Send him a message if you got him on Facebook or whatever. Show that love. Hopefully he gets out before long. He's really dealing with in and out of the hospital crap real bad. And that's so hard on a person. It's so hard on a person and their family, because then you already take away the ability for that person to be an income source, and then the other person in the household, mom, dad, wife, husband, whatever it is, they end up losing income because they're at the hospital with you. And then they're adding more bills on top of that, new medications and more crap you have to do. It's like, it's so rough on people. So anyway, guys, y'all be sure to shoot that love out to him. And we got to keep up with everybody, man. Yeah, he's a good cat, man. He's just he's trying to pop in for shows. I shot him a message. He responded to my message just yesterday. So, he's at least in that state, where he can, but I don't think he's popping much into the live shows, and he normally is, a constant, stable pillar of those shows. And now he's not. He just kind of pops in, which tells me he's in rough shape, man. I don't even know, dude. I feel bad for him. He's such a nice guy. I hate it when nice people get screwed, man. I really do. My community around this community is just such a wonderful community, and we all get to know each other quite well. And so I hate whenever people have hard times, and I try to do my best to help them. G-Body said, does he have a YouTube? Yes, it's a PSE Mentalist. Pop on his YouTube. And he's got some interesting videos, mostly unboxings and stuff. I mean, he's not capable of doing much, so he can't really get around and do anything. And I'm struggle with it. I have to have help, and I have some really awesome people in my life that do go out of their way to help me, and I go out of my way to help them. And the stuff comes back to you. It always does. It's the people are the most important part. Like I said, whenever you put anything in your life above the people in your life, you made a bad mistake. Don't ever do that. That's always the wrong decision. Every single time. So guys, I need to get me some food in my belly, and I need to work on this video that I got to upload. So for now, guys, we're going to get the duck out of here. Y'all remember to love each other and take care of each other. Show respect to your fellow man, woman, and it. Just show love, man. There ain't nothing hard about showing love. We were built that way. It takes effort to be an asshole. It's easy to love people. Peace, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm here banging up and down the street, slamming it to the ground. Big subwoofers are getting loud. You can feel the booming sound. Getting ready to go. Got it shined up for the show. Hours charging, amps are amping, gonna let the woofers blow. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes, and another one goes, and another one bites the dust. We got more at home. Another one bites the dust. Eyes are glowing and the amps smoking. Subs are cherry red. Let me keep jamming, gotta keep the bass slamming. Gonna go hard till they're dead. Full power, gotta let it go. 20 hertz in the floating air. Sparks are flying, voice coils are frying, and the smoke is in the air. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes. blows and another one goes and another one bites the dust. Hey, we got more at home. Another one bites the dust.